Hi, this is Breaking New Ground. I'm Eric Mieni. Thanks for joining us on our journey across the South African housing landscape. Port Elizabeth, the second oldest city after Cape Town in South Africa, is also the economic capital of the Eastern Cape. It is called the friendly city by some, the windy city by others, and fast becoming known as the busy city. Construction is happening at a hell of a pace here. There's the new soccer stadium coming up, the Cougar Deep Water Harbour, new infrastructural development, and thousands of houses being built. And like most other cities in South Africa, Port Elizabeth is in the midst of a housing and property boom. But how does the government make sure that the ordinary citizen benefits? This is where the provision of housing comes in. A home has intrinsic value, and anybody who owns a house can leverage it for highly productive reasons. The unique manner in which Port Elizabeth is making sure that this happens is through the integration of all three spheres of government: local, provincial, and national in the housing delivery process, and through a high level of cooperation with the private sector. Let's see how this is being done. Zanemvula is the leading housing delivery project here in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. In addition to providing 9,000 homes to families being moved from a squatter camp called Soweto on Sea, it's going to provide another 5,000 houses to families from surrounding areas. Now, let's go and see how this project is coming along. Let me get this right. The government says we would like to build 14,000 houses. Tubelisha, of which you are the provincial manager, then makes this happen.
We had to phase the project into phases. This one that we are at now is phase one of the overall project. To date, we've got plus minus 3,200 houses that are under construction.
So what have the unique achievements been with this project for Tubelisha?
Tubelisha has managed to come with the different housing typologies in this project, whereby we're building different houses at the same time. We're putting beautiful finishings. As you can see them, we're putting roof tiles on these units. We're plastering the units. We're putting also the ceiling on those units, of which, in terms of sustainable human settlement, that's what the community needs.
So how have you done that?
I think it's planning. The planning in terms of ensuring that your service providers understand what really do you want. At the same time, if we are giving them more units, they will be able to negotiate the price with you at a reasonable price, because as I said before, we've got three components that are running now. This one is 1,687, of which is a huge number, and the other one is 1,200, whereby we'll be able to negotiate a reasonable price in terms of volume of the work. Yes.
Has this cooperation between the three government sections, provincial, local, and national, been quite useful for your project, or a bit cumbersome?
It has been very useful, I must be honest with you. Reason being, as a project manager for the project, you depend on these three spheres of government in terms of funding, in terms of approval of plans, in terms of ensuring that everything is fast-tracked. They've been very cooperative. At the same time, on a monthly basis, we're having technical testing meetings whereby all three spheres of government, including Tubelisha, as project managers, we sit together, we attend to challenges that we are encountering on site, we ensure that we cover anything that could delay the process.
So there's no broken telephone?
No.
You don't talk to municipal, who talks to provincial, who talks to national, who talks to provincial, who comes back. Yeah. You can talk to them at the same time?
At the same time, because
so it expedites the process?
We need to look at the successes of this project, and then we spread it all over the province.
Now, these are the wonderful stories around it. This is what's working. What have the challenges been?
You must remember, if you're building on site whereby there are community also living there, they are vulnerable to risk. So you have to manage also the safety of them. At the same time, the contractor is having difficulty in terms of delivering a scale, because you have to firstly relocate the shack in order to position the house. That has been a major challenge. But we've overcome it, because in the next phase, we won't be relocating. We intend to having a holding area whereby we'll put a contractor on a site and the contractor must just go and build. We remove people from the holding area to houses, of which it will be able to expedite the delivery.
You know, thank you for letting us know about this. It sounds like a very good project.
It is. It is.
Kunjani uphila apha kubhizi njengolu hlobo kwakhiwa yonke indawo?
Kuyakhiwa ezinye zigqityiwe. Kodwa ngoku babefika apha bathi ukugqitywa kwendlu awunika isitshixo. Sisanethe ke nangoku. Into esifuna sizitshixo.
Okay. Bathi sifika nini isitshixo?
Babethe ule kempele nge-10 sithethela nje tekhange batsho. Yaqonda kulapha kodwa uba nge-10 i-10 zidlule.
After the break, we'll take a look at the highly innovative Secluded project. Stay with us. One of the most amazing aspects of the Breaking New Ground strategy is its built-in openness to new and innovative ways of building socially functional housing for the poor. Now, Secluded, where we are driving to, is a great example of how Port Elizabeth is using this aspect of the strategy. Tony, how did Secluded come about?
Eric, Secluded came about as a result of the assistance of SIDA, the Swedish International Development Agency. What they did was that they realized that there's a lack of enough sufficient examples of housing for the subsidy market. And what they then did was they held a competition between Swedish and South African architects, and the committee that adjudicated the results of the competition, they recommended that both the winning South African design and the winning Swedish design should be implemented on this site. You know, we are accustomed to everybody having a 40 square meter freestanding house on its own property. Now here what we're doing is we're trying to show people how we can achieve high density living without sacrificing any of your lifestyle.
The way these units are arranged on this site, is that like an example of how they would be actually arranged on a real site? And what are the advantages of that?
Yes, Eric, what you see here is an actual extract from the general plan. We built these houses around one of the squares so that we can also achieve a sense of communal living around a square. The double-story units here will form a row in the front, and then the single-story unit over there will be clustered around little cul-de-sacs. And these cul-de-sacs will then create safe playing areas for children, aiming at community and pedestrianisation. That's what was trying to be achieved here.
Now, what's the innovation about this Swedish design exactly?
Eric, the uniqueness about this is that, as you can see, it's quite a long, tall building. It's centered around a central courtyard with the bedrooms and ablution facilities on the one side of the courtyard, and in the front you have your lounge and your living areas on the other side. So, in effect, what you can have is you can have two small families occupying both sides of one house at the same time.
So this is now the cul-de-sac design we're talking about.
Yes, Eric, you'll notice that this house is in the shape of an L. The uniqueness about this, or the niceness about this, is the fact that you can flip it over and then join it end to end. And then this wall here, that length there, and then the next unit over there, this already creates a sort of a courtyard. Now, if you were to mirror the two houses on the opposite side of a cul-de-sac, then you have this square inside, this nice space where people can get together for a cup of coffee after work and chat with the neighbors, etc. Now, well, the options are limitless.
The car manufacturing industry is one of the key drivers of the Eastern Cape economy and that of Port Elizabeth, which is why car manufacturing companies like General Motors, through their General Motors South Africa Foundation, are getting involved together with government in the upliftment of communities through housing. Sakasonke, just up the road where we're going, is a great example of this cooperation between government and the private sector. Just give me some background on the GM South Africa Foundation.
Well, some time ago, General Motors decided that the money that had been spent in South Africa, by the way, they were then called the Delta Motor Corporation, could have been possibly spent more productively. So they decided to create a special foundation that was linked to General Motors but independent from it, called the GM South Africa Foundation, and to get into project management. In other words, to try a really new, clever idea out. Undertake it as a pilot project. When we've got it right, to share the lessons that we've learned, the model, if you like, with other organizations, and particularly the government, to encourage other people to copy what we've done that's worked, and to warn people off where things didn't work.
Yeah. Now, this particular settlement here was a defunct caravan park that you guys bought. Tell me how that came about. Yeah.
We wanted to try practically implementing densification. People were saying, you can't make the plots smaller, you can't give people double-story houses, it won't work. And that is a real challenge for the foundation.
The one thing that struck me about this development is that it's very different. Loads of walkways, double-story houses. What was the thinking behind all this?
Well, Eric, the old matchbox houses that the old apartheid government used to build were designed in 1951. We wanted to break out of that mold and try something different. And what we really did was say instead of spending money on land and on servicing the land, can't we make the plots smaller? Save on the ground, save on the services, so you've got more for the houses.
Right.
Build them double-story, join them together. Party walls, all of these result in savings. So we proved here that you can build 52 square meter houses, fully serviced, within the subsidy, within the capital subsidy, for people earning below 1,500 Rand a month.
Now, what you're telling me is you are building 10 square meters bigger houses than the basic BNG house for less money.
Absolutely. And the secret is densification.
Yeah.
If you make the sites smaller, you've got more money for the houses.
And
look at the standard of the services.
And it doesn't feel cramped to me. What I find amazing is it doesn't feel cramped.
No,
it
absolutely.
feels like everybody's got room around them. Of course, I don't see where they would park cars or if anybody bought them. Is there a way in which you looked into that?
Well, there are trade-offs with a development like this.
Yeah.
One of the trade-offs is people have to park away from the houses.
But there is space for parking.
But there is space for parking, and the main road into the area with the parking areas has been surfaced, so it's a tarred road.
Now, when and how did the government get involved in this? I take it it's a GM South Africa Foundation initiated project.
We're a project management agency, but we're not a developer.
Right.
And we talked to the government, to Bishu, to the provincial government, about subsidies. Obviously, because this project, if you don't get subsidies, it doesn't work. But absolute 100% cooperation from the provincial government.
Yeah. So in the end, how many units did you manage to put up here?
Well, Eric, we initially decided to design this according to the conventional layout plan. And that would have accommodated 120 houses. We put that to one side and we redid it according to this densification approach. We got 337 houses in here. There are in fact 337 families living here. That's 3 times the conventional density. And as you will have felt walking through the area, you don't feel like a sardine in a can.
Yeah.
It feels like there's space.
Wow. Well, I must say I find it incredibly impressive. So thanks for taking us through it.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for visiting.
I wonder if this model of housing is going to be replicated around PE and the country. Let's find out from MEC Thokozile Xhasa after the break. To get an overall view on all the housing delivery projects we've seen so far here in Port Elizabeth, we've come here to the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipal Building offices to talk to the MEC for Housing, Local Government and Traditional Affairs, MEC Thokozile Xhasa. Welcome to the show, MEC.
Thank you very much.
First thing I wanted to ask, though, is pretty general. Breaking new ground. Has that been a useful strategy for the city in terms of delivering houses?
Indeed, because when this strategy came into place, it gave us as the Eastern Cape an opportunity to upscale our housing delivery. Because as you know, part of its pillars links up with ensuring, bringing dignified houses to our communities, targeting the informal settlements. At the same time, creating sustainable communities within the Nelson Mandela, as well as integrating those communities within the mainstream economy within the area. It also has brought together a lot of the role players within government, because as we develop those houses, we also are looking at how then can we ensure those social infrastructure needs within those communities are going to work.
If we take a look at the different projects, I'm sure it's not all of them, but we just looked at 3. What's your delivery schedule like?
They are at different stages of progress. But if I may pick one project of the many within the Zanemvula project, the one that is driven by Mzingisi Trust. It started effectively in December. And up to now, we've already handed over 250 units, both in terms of people getting in and getting title deeds for those 250 houses. So there are various stages that we are monitoring on a regular basis, because both the province, the national department, and the municipality have a key role to play. We've placed project managers for each of those projects.
Now, I want to just take you through the different projects that we went through. At Zanemvula, for instance, we had residents say that the administrative process from the time the house is complete to them moving in, at the moment is taking a little long. Is the city looking at that, and what are you doing to try and improve or shorten that time?
I would agree to that, because perhaps we have focused more on completion of the entire project than actually looking into the administrative things. Such things need to be followed up, and a concerted team looks into that, so that we are able to link up with the relevant offices to speed up that paperwork.
At Sakasonke, what we found amazing was that through a redesign that intensifies the density, it suddenly could house from 120 to about 333 without having to increase the land. Why is that model, or is it going to be replicated throughout the city?
Within cities, there isn't much land. And we've been, in terms of the initial housing programs, focusing on the standalones. So now that one indeed has seen how we can integrate both low cost and whatever brackets of income earners, and as such looks into the saving in terms of the space and also bigger houses coming up. So it encompasses a lot of positives, of which we think it begins to be a pilot.
Now at Sakuluntu, what we discovered to be holding up the project in terms of developing it was that the environmental impact studies were sitting somewhere. What is being done to try and fast-track those kinds of things?
If you remember, the issue of environmental impact assessment is an issue throughout the country.
Absolutely.
And we are saying to municipalities and our project managers, they must bring such forward so that we can follow up.
And I would imagine then you systemize that so that whenever there's another project that needs an environmental impact study assessed, that moves quicker than the one before.
Definitely.
So it gets in the city's DNA.
Yeah.
But if you look at this progress that is being made, including BNG, what do you think is unique about the way the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality is working right now? What is the unique ingredient that's making you so successful?
We signed a memorandum of agreement, being the 3 spheres of government. So now this has ceased from being a project of the Nelson Mandela Bay, neither be it a project of the province. It is our project, all of us. So its success will be success of all of us, because whoever is not doing, it is supplemented by the other one. So for us, it is how the 3 spheres of government can cooperate and make success out of what has to be done.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Breaking New Ground. We wish you the very best with all the projects.
Thank you very much.
Please stay tuned, because Thuli is going to show you how to renovate your government home and, of course, give you details on the BNG competition that's currently running here on the show. Thuli?
Upgrade your policy with My Home from ABSA. SMS your full name to 32916 to apply. Let's break new ground together.
Welcome back to our BNG renovation segment. Today we're in Alexandra at Gogo's house and we're going to be doing her ceilings. Ceilings are not only nice, but they also provide insulation, keeping your house cool in summer and warm in winter. Today we'll be speaking with Bongi Mtimkulu, who's going to be taking us through the process of installing the ceiling in your home. Bongi, when it comes to ceilings, what sort of things should you look out for to build the perfect ceiling?
You know, once the construction has been done, it's quite important that the finishes are perfect, and ceilings being part of the finishes, it is quite important that you do a good job. First of all, you have to have the walls and the plastering perfect, so that your ceiling falls into the walls in a proper way, and it must synchronize with the whole structure. More important is in residential, you have to check for the leaks, whether there are any leaks in the roof, otherwise it's going to spoil the ceilings.
For a job like this, what sort of cost is involved and where should one source materials from?
Okay, for a job like this, you need to source material from different suppliers as well as different hardwares. The cost that comes with it, it ranges, well, for this kind of a project, you estimate that the material that will be about 2,500.
Is it difficult to do this job, and how long does the process take to complete?
Yes, it is quite a difficult job. As I said, it's a specialized field, so the guys should be well trained. To do a job like this, it will take a day or day and a half with 4 trained personnel, and then with 2 assistant unskilled laborers. The ceiling adds value to the house. Above all, it brings the beauty, to the house.
Upgrade your policy with My Home from ABSA. SMS your full name to 32916 to apply. Let's break new ground together.
That's it for this edition of Breaking New Ground. Join us again next Monday right here on SABC2 at 10 p.m. From me and the BNG team, so long.